What's up, guys? Airbnb and Vrbo are two competing platforms. Let's talk about what you need to know as a short-term rental host, as a short-term rental investor, short-term rental property manager. I want to walk you through in this video what you need to know about these two platforms so you can decide whether you should be listed on one, whether you should be listed on both, the nuances of all of them. I just want to walk you through it all step by step so that you can gain clarity on when and how using both of these platforms can benefit you. So let's start off with where you should start. My suggestion is almost always Airbnb. The reality is Airbnb is where you're going to get the majority of your bookings for most properties. Some properties are exceptions to this rule, but for most properties, you're going to get the lion's share of your bookings through Airbnb. And so it's a natural starting point. There's just more traffic there. And so generally you're going to get more bookings. If you're only going to be listed on one platform, which is what I recommend when you first get started, just to keep things simple, then I recommend for most people that platform be Airbnb. It's also the most user-friendly on the hosting side of things. Sure, there are some issues you can complain about with different stuff, but ultimately they do make it very, very easy to get your property up, get it listed, start collecting payments. They do all the payment processing for you, and they just send you the payouts directly to your bank account or to your PayPal account if you want to do it that way. So it really does make it very, very easy. Whereas with some of these other platforms, it can get a little bit trickier than that. So that's Airbnb. Vrbo is another platform that's very, very popular amongst vacation rentals. These are typically whole home listings that are going to be specifically vacation rentals that are geared more towards families. Vrbo does stand for vacation rental by owner. That's where they got their start. And so that's generally types of properties that perform the best because the majority of people that are looking to book stays as guests on Vrbo tend to be families or large groups of friends looking for a larger whole home listing to stay at. Now, there are quite a few notable differences between Airbnb and Vrbo. One of the biggest ones that's the most important is the limitations on the liability insurance coverage you get from Vrbo versus Airbnb. Airbnb's liability protection is the most comprehensive by far. They offer $3 million worth of liability coverage that fully protects your property and all of its contents from any damages that a guest might cause while they're staying there. Whereas Vrbo, on the other hand, only offers $1 million worth of coverage, and there's a lot of limitations on it. Ultimately, what this means is that you're going to want to, at the very least, collect a security deposit from each guest that you get on Vrbo, and that you're also going to want to make sure you have good insurance coverage for protecting yourself. So this could be through your home insurance, and I do recommend for anyone that owns a short-term rental property that you have a homeowner's insurance policy that specifically protects your property for its use as a short-term rental property. But you can also use, in addition to that, third-party insurance providers that will give a similar level of protection or coverage to what Airbnb gives on a per guest stay basis. So for example, I think there's one out there called Guest Hog or something like that I've heard people using. Things like that can be helpful for just giving you additional liability protection. So that's one notable difference between Airbnb and Vrbo. Another really big one is going to be payment processing. Now, if you have, I believe, one or two properties, or as long as you're not using a channel management software, which is what you'll want to use as you grow larger and you're managing things on multiple different platforms, then you can actually have Vrbo process your payments for you, which is really nice because it means that you don't really have to deal with things like credit card fraud or chargebacks or refunds or any of those headaches at all, because Vrbo, just like Airbnb, will process your payments for you. Once you start using a channel management software, it might be once you have multiple properties, you're going to need to start changing that. You're going to need to start processing your own payments for the guests that stay with you through Vrbo. Now, a lot of the times, these different channel management softwares you might use, like for example, the one I use, HostAway, it actually allows you to automate this, which is really nice. And you can collect security deposits, hold on to those, and then refund them to guests once they've checked out and you verified that no damage was done to the property. So that is nice, but you still end up having to deal with things like just mitigating fraud, making sure that people are booking your stays with legitimate credit cards. You're gonna have to deal with your own refunds. If you ever are issuing refunds, that's gonna fall on you. And if anyone ever does affect a chargeback, it's gonna impact you. And there are some different repercussions for that aren't really good. And so you're gonna have to do things to just make sure you avoid those potential issues, because they can be a lot of headache if you don't know what you're doing. But just realize that depending on your situation, your setup, you may need to start processing your own payments when you list on VRBO, which is just an added step to the process to be aware of. I don't recommend going in blind and just setting this stuff up without doing your research, because you're almost guaranteed to run into different headaches. Guys, just want to take a quick break here to say that for those of you watching who want to build cash flow and long-term wealth by purchasing Airbnbs and short-term rental properties, there's a link in the description right down below for a free training that'll walk you through my exact strategy for investing successfully in Airbnbs. Now, if you're not ready to actually buy properties and you want to get started managing other people's properties on Airbnb the same way I got started and build a full-time income managing other people's properties, there's actually another free training linked in the description down below as well that'll be a really great fit for you. So whether you want to invest in short-term rental properties and actually build amazing cash flow and long-term wealth by acquiring the assets, buying the properties themselves, or you're looking to earn a full-time income managing other people's properties on Airbnb, we've got some awesome trainings that are linked in the description down below that'll definitely help you out. When you sign up for the trainings, we're also going to send you a few other tools and resources completely for free just to help you get started. Again, the links to sign up are in the description down below, and both trainings and all the tools are completely free. So make sure to register for the trainings, links in the description down below. Now, also, there are some benefits to being on VRBO. For example, they don't tend to have as picky of guests in my experience. You don't get as many low budget travelers on VRBO as you do on Airbnb. And in my experience, the people that pay the least tend to expect the most. It's kind of counterintuitive. The people that I get booking through VRBO tend to pay more than people that book through Airbnb, and they complain a lot less. They just don't have issues. They check in, they love their stay, they have a great time, they barely ever have any questions for us. They check out, they leave us a great review. Whereas on Airbnb, sometimes you can get some troublesome guests. Now, there are a whole bunch of ways, and again, I talk about this in other videos of how to prevent that, how to avoid troublesome guests, but I will say that they just really don't happen nearly as often on VRBO, which is a big benefit to the platform. VRBO also doesn't tend to be as punitive when it comes to bad reviews, getting them on the platform. It's not as out there in your face and like preventing future guests from staying with you as it is on Airbnb. So that's nice that you just have a little bit more leeway. It's really nice, especially when you're a brand new host who's just getting started, because naturally you are going to learn some things as you get started. And so there are going to be potential for mistakes to be made, and it's just not going to impact you as negatively on VRBO as it would on Airbnb. Another big benefit is that guests on VRBO tend to be less frequent, right? You get fewer bookings through VRBO, generally speaking, than you do through Airbnb, but they do tend to pay more, which is really nice. You can just make more money by charging a premium on VRBO versus what you charge on Airbnb. That's really, really nice. It means that you're just ultimately going to make more money. And this is a really, really big benefit if you're trying to fill in some gaps in the calendar. Now, another big benefit of just being listed on multiple platforms in general, and this is generally why I recommend it to people, you're going to increase the amount of visibility your property gets, which if you have a good listing, you've got all the fundamentals nailed down to make sure that that visibility is being converted into bookings, it's just going to result in more visibility equals more bookings. So this is really, really helpful when the bottleneck to your growth with your short-term rental is visibility. This tends to happen in slow seasons. So at slower times of the year, the name of the game is getting your property booked and not having it sit vacant. So getting more visibility on the property will lead to more bookings, will lead to more revenue. It's just a win-win for everyone. Whereas generally what I found is that in the high season, the name of the game isn't so much getting booked, it's more so getting the highest possible nightly rate. And although more visibility will help with that because it'll create more competition, and so it's great. all around, it generally isn't the solution if you find that you're not getting booked during high season. That is indicative to me that you're doing something else wrong on the one platform you are listed on, and you want to fix that before you expand the problem out to multiple platforms. One of the best pieces of advice I can give is that if you are thinking about placing your listing on multiple different platforms, make sure you've really perfected the one platform first before you expand out. The reality is you're going to need to put some work into actually optimizing your listing on each given platform that you list on, because they're all slightly different. And so if you're making mistakes over here, like you have bad photos, a bad listing headline, things like that, and you go and expand over there, well, now suddenly you've just multiplied your problems and you haven't actually found a good solution. So no matter what you do, you want to make sure that you really nail it on one platform, and you can do so by watching all the other videos we have on this channel about how to really nail it on Airbnb. Then you want to expand out. That makes a good thing even better. Now, I'm thinking about doing another video all about just direct bookings, and we can even talk about booking.com. If you like that idea, if you want to learn more about that, then let me know in the comment section down below. If you liked this video, if it was helpful or valuable or answered some of the questions you had floating around your head, make sure you let me know by just hitting the like button on this video to show me that this is actually content that you enjoy, and also just to help me get these videos in front of more people and grow this channel. Just take half a second to hit that like button. It really does help me out tremendously. And last but not least, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel and you want to just do me a solid, or if you want to stay up to date with the 2 new videos we post every single week here for multiple years running here with consistency, just like clockwork, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you say subscribe, you'll be shown other videos of ours. You'll be able to keep up to date. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.